welcome into another edition of the Grown Man's Podcast. My name is Tom, and across the table from me, the man, the myth, the legend, Hattie. But Hattie's not allowed to talk yet, because I have a minute and a half introduction into this podcast, just like last week.
It was a minute and 7 seconds. Thank you very much.
Was it? I don't know. I feel like it was a minute and a half.
Now it was a minute and 7 seconds.
All right, well, I suppose I'll let you talk here, Hattie. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing very well.
Doing great?
It was, and NBA playoffs are on. My team is up 2-0 or 2-1.
Easy now.
So I'm very excited, very happy.
Easy
Football
now.
season's right around the corner. Also happy about that.
My team, the Portland Blazers, will be leveling the playing field after tonight's game. So you guys, by the time you're listening to this, should know that it's 2-2 in that series.
It's going to be 3-1. You know it's for sure.
I don't care anything about basketball, although I will say that for the first time ever in my entire life, I did watch a basketball game this week. It was the first Portland versus Lakers game.
You watched it purely just to troll me and...
I did.
Tell me to lay.
Well, I didn't have anything else to do. My wife was in the other room doing something. I was like, you know what? Why not? You know, Hattie's about to, go whole hog into this thing. He's got all of his hopes up. Let me act like I am a Blazers fan and just troll him the whole game. And I did, and the Lakers lost, and then I felt bad, and I was like, I'm sorry. To be honest with you, I thought it was a single elimination game, and that your Lakers were out, and then I was like, I feel bad now because Hattie cares about this, and I could care less, and I was being a jerk the whole game.
Nah.
And that game did kind of come down to the last minute of the game, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the fourth quarter it came down to, and we just couldn't make anything in the first game. It was real terrible.
Oh man, Dwight Howard getting a lot of. Well, this is not a basketball podcast.
I will mention one more basketball thing before we close out the basketballness. I've never been more excited and more let down for like an item to purchase. So it's 8/24 today, which is like
August
Kobe
24th.
Bryant Day.
Oh, okay.
Because he wore 8 and 24.
Oh,
blah,
okay.
blah. So there was like a special commemorative like jersey that came out today, and I wanted to get it real bad because it looked cool.
Yeah.
It had like 8 and 24 on the back, and it was like snake skin, like the Black Mamba type skin. It was all blacked out.
Yeah.
Looked really sweet. Tried to
get
get it. Sold out immediately on every site, everywhere.
Well, that's nice that capitalism is reigning supreme here in our society, capitalizing on the death of a...
Shirley Bots.
Huh?
Shirley Bots.
Who's that?
Like resellers get like bots so they can get like several like
I thought
PCs
it was a woman whose name was
no.
Shirley Bots.
Have you ever tried to like order something that was like limited and you like had to go into a drawing, or they say they release it at like 10 a.m. whatever morning, and you go to the site at 10 a.m. in the morning, and it's just like crashing, like refresh, and you can't like buy the item, and then you like refresh it another time, it's like, sold out. Too bad for you.
No, because
It's
I
so
don't usually care that much about buying anything.
Yeah,
It's
only been 2 times in my life I've ever like tried to get on the train of like buying something that was like limited, like this is the time it releases. You always get on the website and just like trying to get in there.
Right.
Never can.
The only thing that I could ever imagine that I cared about to buy like that was, you remember a couple years ago they came out with the NES Classic, like the tiny little thing, like the old school Nintendo video games for the NES. They had all the like 15, 20 games loaded onto it. And those things sold out immediately. They
you should have told me.
Yeah?
I had 3 of them.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I really did.
You're lying.
No, I'm not. You can ask my wife who's
How did
not
you
there.
get 3 of them?
I had 3 of them. I sold them. But, yes, I had 3 of them.
I wanted one of those.
Oh, I didn't know. If you would have told me, I would have gave you one.
Do you still have one?
No. I sold them all.
How'd you get them? Fell off the back of a truck?
See,
Eddie's got a couple of connections.
I have few connections for certain things.
Okay.
Electronics and sneakers are the 2 things that I have connections in, and I can
You
get
heard
you
it
pretty
here
much whatever
first.
you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I not know this?
I don't know.
I kind of feel a little bit...
I'm a big video game fan. I don't really talk about it a lot. But I didn't know you wanted one.
No.
But I did have them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you play with them at all?
No. You can't play with them if you're going to like sell them again. They got to be like new in box, not unopened.
Yeah. You
Not
can
going to be
reseal.
like one of those sketchy resellers that like get stuff in.
Well, I wanted one. Now I don't have one. But you could probably buy one now, I would imagine. They probably... Did they start making them again?
I think they're done. Like they're limited. Like
No.
I don't think they make them anymore.
That sucks.
Probably find one used somewhere, but it's not going to be $59.99 retail price.
No?
I'm sure it's not.
You think it'd be more?
I mean, I sold mine for more.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Interesting. So I'll have to delve more into that after we're off the air, find out. So if you guys become a Patreon member, you can get all the video games and sneakers that you guys want. Just make sure you let us know. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter, become a grown man, you can go over to patreon.com/grownmanspodcast. $1 or $2 a month goes a long way there. We certainly appreciate our previous or current patrons, Darlene, Gus, Barry, and West. Thank you guys. And we want to encourage everybody to go over to Twitter.
Yeah.
And tweet at us with your thoughts and comments and what have you. Just general nonsense if you'd like.
Yeah, the new new Patreon episode went up today. So if you haven't checked it out, go over there and download it and let us know what you think.
Old Hattie's Johnny on the spot with that. We recorded a week ago.
Hey, you know what?
And I texted you like 4 days ago to put it up.
I got busy at work, and I was doing
happens.
Research on the other computer in the other room, so I was like, ooh, it's right on my desktop. I better put that up.
All right. So that's up there. You guys can go listen. And for our whiskey tasting today, we are going to be drinking Glen, Scotia, Victoriana, I think. It's a single malt scotch. That'll be after the music at the end of the show. Stick around for that if you're interested. And I don't know if I said our Twitter handle, but it is @GrownMansPod. And we are going to be, last week we were in a bracket against other podcasts. It was a 32 podcast bracket. If you go over and check it out, it's on @Bracketeers It's the Bracketeers. I'm not sure exactly what their Twitter handle is. I'll be tweeting it out a lot this week because we made it through the first round in pretty convincing fashion, I would say. We got
like 68%,
70 to 30.
Yeah,
we had a pretty good turnout. We appreciate everybody that voted on that and helped us out. And if you guys want to go ahead and show your support for the podcast, this podcast here, that you don't have to pay anything for. It's just, it's right there for the taking. And if you want to show your support for that, go over there and make sure you vote when we're tweeting that out this week for the Sweet 16.
Yeah, the podcast is free, but you still got to go vote for us on Twitter.
Yes.
And like us on Twitter and
follow us. Yeah.
Let us know. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
So how's your week this week, Hattie?
Busy.
The
weekend was pretty good. I don't remember what I did right now because I'm really drawing a blank.
You got some new cornhole boards.
Oh, yeah. I did play some cornhole Sunday. Brand new. Need to sand them down a little bit more so the bags slide up a little bit more naturally. But I got new bags, too.
I
got
see
those
that.
to see over there.
They're very nice. Those are the same ones I got. Those are nice. They got like the chalky stuff inside of them, which makes them nice for sliding, too.
Yeah, they're pretty nice.
Yep.
Can't wait to get some friends over and play some. We're actually thinking about doing like a little weekend thing before it gets too cold.
Oh, yeah?
Do like maybe get somebody to bring their grill over. Like
a little parking lot party?
Like your brother, get some cornhole boards out there, do a little parking lot party.
Is that illegal?
No.
No?
Not in the state of New York, I don't think.
Okay.
I think we can party all we want.
This is still America?
Still America.
Okay. All right.
Still party in parking lot.
Okay. I didn't know.
As long as it's not like, 25, 20 people more? I don't know.
I was thinking more about the drinking outside aspect of it.
No.
Is that? I mean, that's probably legal, right?
I've done it.
Yeah. Yes, but you haven't done it in large groups, have you?
I mean, see, here's the thing. You put it in a red Solo cup and nobody knows.
Okay.
And nobody bothers you.
Well, we'll see about
that.
As
long as you're not like being like stupid and
bunch of
super
hooligans
rowdy and
out there in the street shooting squirrels with your gun.
Shooting squirrels and setting off fireworks and stuff that's never been done in the parking lot where I live. Never at all.
That's right.
But, yeah.
All right. There's just packages falling off of trucks out front of Hattie's house. Squirrels getting shot out back by different residences.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So
they just drop off Jordans and Yeezys by the dozens.
You get Yeezys? Is that on the table?
Anything's on the table.
Are they like knockoff Yeezys?
No.
Real Yeezys.
Yeah.
Have you ever owned a pair of Yeezys, Hattie?
I have a pair.
Do you really?
Yeah.
No, I've never seen you wear them. They're the ugliest shoe in the world.
Oh no, they're not. They're awesome.
I mean, they're quite literally the ugliest shoe I've ever seen.
Them. I love them.
They're
super
so
comfy.
ugly. I mean, they might be comfortable, but they're ugly as sin.
Nah.
They're awful.
The 350 V2s are awesome.
I don't know what that is.
I know.
I just know the ones that I've seen are ugly as crap.
Nah, they're awesome.
They're literal dog crap. Might be comfortable.
They're super comfy.
Might be high quality.
And they look awesome.
All right. I mean, they don't look awesome.
I love them.
Okay.
I wear them to the draft party.
No, please don't.
Oh, I'm going to.
I don't need those at my house. We're doing our draft party this year at my house. I have a pretty large backyard, so we're going to do it out back. Social distance. Yep. Everybody's going to bring their own beer and food and stuff and sit 6 feet apart.
Well, I think beer is going to be supplied.
Yes,
because,
it's part of the draft price.
Or some of it.
Yeah. And Pat brought out food is also included in that. So what are we doing for that?
What do you mean food's also included?
Isn't food usually part of the draft party aspect? Or is this something we should handle off here?
We'll handle that off air.
All right. So yeah,
here's the thing. Everyone puts in $25.
Yes.
And it pays for the jersey and the boards and everything. So when $300 is tapped out, $300 is tapped out. Let me tell you, when you spend $180 for the jersey and like 40-ish for the board.
We don't have to buy that for Dave. Dave don't need no. Dave was the one that won last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't need a jersey.
Oh, he's getting one. But due to all the coronavirus stuff, you can't get you literally cannot get like a name player jersey right now, like on any of the websites.
Especially not for the Cowboys.
So there's got to be, $175 or whatever that is set aside for that. Right. So whenever that becomes available, Dave will get his jersey whenever it is physically available for me to buy him.
Have you gotten the trophy situated?
Yeah, it's all everything's engraved, and I actually found like a little semi-localish guy that will engrave it for us. So
nice,
because the big conglomerate company went out of business everywhere.
No good.
So you can't get engraved by them anymore.
I could have just scratched it in with a screwdriver, Hattie. Would have looked as good.
Gotta look a little classy.
Okay. All right, no trashy, just classy. All right, that's the way Hattie likes to do it. All right, what do you say we get into some NFL news?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, NFL news. Oh, look at you with the drum solo.
Little drum solo.
You're getting in on it, Hattie.
I'm getting in.
You know what? You figure if you can't stop them, you might as well join them, right?
I'm not gonna do a little bum like they used to.
I'd rather you not do that. If that's the best you can do, then I'm glad you sit it out.
Nah, I wanted it to be terrible, so people won't want me to actually do that.
That'd be good.
So I'm just going to do a little drum table solo.
I think you should, whoever's hosting the podcast that week should have to be the one to do the ba-da-ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-ba-dum.
Maybe we should get our music guy to do us a little drop. Or
you could just record me doing it, and then you just play that same one each week. Ba-da-ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-ba-dum.
I like that Maramite just sitting in the corner every week.
Yeah, I see it. I see it staring me down over here. I haven't opened it yet because I didn't want to make the whole room stink.
I made your son try it a couple days ago.
Did you?
Yeah.
Keegan?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
when was he here? He was down here helping James with his car or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
like, uh-oh, I don't know.
I was like, I don't know. It was like 2 days ago, a week ago. I don't know.
What do you think?
He did not like it.
Yeah, that's
because nobody likes it.
Well, Gus likes it, and he wanted to make sure that we pronounced it correct. He said it's not Maramite or Maramite, it's Marmite. There's no second A.
Well, us Americans, we like adding syllables to stuff.
We just look at the word, and we're just like, well, we'll get it pretty close. That's kind of how we do it.
But thank you, Gus, for
and he did send us a picture. Last week we requested that he send us a picture of his normal Marmite routine.
Yep.
And he also said that we were interchanging Marmite with Vegemite.
Yes.
And he said Vegemite is an adulterated abomination of Marmite.
It's literally the Australian equivalent. I have some Vegemite in my fridge.
Well, Gus says it's no good.
Really?
Gus also has some that is like an XO version, which is like super strong.
Like the Angus version. Did you see the picture he sent?
Well, yeah, that's
Angus on it.
Well, that's his name, I guess.
His
name is Angus.
Gus's name is Angus?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? Because Jeff calls me Angus.
Yes.
And I found that very funny. But yeah, apparently his name is Angus, and he just goes by Gus because something about his work used to call him, and like they'd ask for Angus, but he told his friends to call him Gus so that he knew whether or not his work was calling or his work was calling, work or friends.
All right.
To get a delineation so he could probably dodge his work calls or something is what it kind of sounded like.
So did he get...
So he got a personalized jar of it with his name on it.
That is dedication right there.
I mean, the man must love himself some Marmite.
I really thought it was just like the, you know how like brands can be the same, but called something different because the trademarks.
Like Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I just thought it was the
like
the
a
UK
different version
of. If you look at the picture, it looks exactly like our jar.
Oh yeah, it's just got his name on it.
I thought it was like you couldn't call it Marmite.
Yep.
UK
and also he tagged Marmite in when he responded to us, and they liked the comment. the official Marmite Twitter page. So,
Look
we're
at
just
that.
getting some traction from the international Marmite scene.
Hopefully they never listen to our podcast and see us trash
How much
their product.
we hate them vehemently, and how eating their product is a punishment for us for losing a discrepancy.
Oh, yeah.
Which reminds me that we were supposed to be doing NFL news, and in the NFL news spectrum, the Ravens have just announced that they will not be having any fans in their stadium this year for games.
Even better, because you know who is? A couple other teams, and that's all that I need.
That's all that you need.
All I need is like one fan in the stand on TV at one stadium, and all the other ones don't, and you're eating a marble rye toast of Marmite.
We're getting real close here to the season starting. Let's see, we're 1, 2,
2.5-ish.
3, about 3 weeks away from the season
Starts
starting.
Thursday the 9th.
Does it start Thursday the 9th?
Yeah. Thursday the 9th of August.
Thursday the 10th.
September.
Must be Thursday the 10th, because the 9th is a Wednesday.
All right. Okay.
I
really thought it was the 9th.
Yeah, well, I mean, it might be, but it's a
the
Wednesday.
10th. Must be the 10th.
But that is that's getting really close here to them being able to announce that no fans in the stands, and I'm really hoping that they do. I mean, they can't wait until the day of or something like that, because people will be making plans and stuff.
Yeah,
They got to do it quickly.
I really don't think there's going to be any like cohesive thing by the NFL. It's going to be up to state and teams.
What
and
an
all that
oversight!
kind of stuff.
What an oversight! It's a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah.
That some stadium. What do you mean? Yeah, the NFL is supposed to prevent there being competitive disadvantages.
The almighty dollar speaks.
Yeah.
Almighty dollar.
Yeah.
And if one stadium can have 13,000 fans or whatever, they're going to get those 13,000 fans in there to make that money. And to make you eat that brown goo over there.
Oh, it's so bad. How much did Keegan eat?
Oh, just like he dipped like a tip of a knife in and
Yeah?
liked it. Yeah, that was it.
And he thought it was awful, huh?
Yes.
It's like,
Because it is awful.
It is awful. Like it's not viscous at all. Like,
Oh, it's like goop.
I mean, you could hold it upside down and it won't come out.
Like the saying should be like, the saying about like molasses, slower than molasses in January. It should really be slower than Marmite in January.
Any time of year.
It's
Because it
not
is
coming out.
currently August and it is not moving at all.
That is true.
Oh Lord, I am so not looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the rye boat after. You promised me a rye boat after.
Yeah, I'm gonna get like a whole thing of the marble rye and some actual rye boat dip.
All right.
But you gotta eat one slice
With
that big
butter
one.
on it too.
It's gonna be a middle slice too, like the round things. It's gonna be like the big.
Okay, it's gonna be a normal bread size slice.
Nope. You said one slice.
All right. Well, then I'm going with a baguette bread.
Now you already picked the bread.
No,
And
I
that's
take it
marble rye.
back. I take it back.
You can't. No takesies back.
You haven't bought the
can't,
bread yet. You ain't bought that bread yet, Hattie.
No, it's bought.
No.
I went to good old Weggies and I pre-ordered a
Pre-ordered a loaf of bread.
loaf of bread.
Who do I speak to here at your fine bakery to pre-order a loaf of bread for 2.5 weeks from now? They're like, you just come back in 2.5 weeks and just buy a loaf. You can't pre-order.
It's going to be
bread.
freely available.
Yeah, there will be plenty.
I bet Wegmans would let me do it though.
I'll bet you they would.
I bet they would like actually set aside a loaf 2.5 weeks from now if I said I was coming in on
Lord.
Sunday afternoon to pick it up, and they would do it.
They probably would because they're such a great grocery store. They really are the best.
They really are. But
All right.
keeping it in the good old Ravens and Baltimore area, they released Earl Thomas was cut. He's a Pro Bowl safety for many years, part of the Legion of Boom there in Seattle. Free market.
Yeah.
He'll be picked
Big
up.
news.
He'll be on a team.
Big news. They just, I think last year they signed him to a 4-year large contract. I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was in the $50 million range.
Yeah, it was
but
pretty decent contract.
pretty considerable contract. And, then this year they're cutting him. I guess, the team, this is, I think, the biggest shocker of it. The team was behind the cutting of him. Like, none of the teammates were standing up for him being like, you can't do this or whatever. They were like, you know what? The team leadership supports the decision. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you a little bit about what he was like in the locker room there, if that's how the players were.
Didn't he get in a confrontation? Wasn't there like
yes.
a younger
He threw some
linebacker, I
punches or
believe,
something.
and him like got in a tussle?
Yeah, a little tussle.
on the practice field.
Threw some fists.
Yeah.
Yeah. No good.
Well, I mean, if you're not liked in the locker room,
That's true.
you may as well get out of there because another team's going to pick him up.
Just look at Geno Smith. Not liked in the locker room, got his jaw broke. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
IKM Kapali?
Incognito, right? Richie Incognito punched him.
It was IKM Kapali.
I don't even know who that is.
Nobody does because he was an unknown player that was like, he might have even been an undrafted player or like a late round draft pick. And yeah, he owed Geno, I think, $600, something like that. And yeah, just was sick and tired of waiting for his money and felt disrespected, so he just went up and jacked him right in the jaw.
There's another piece of life advice for you. Never loan anybody any money.
Or pay your debt, I think is the better,
Pay your debt if you borrow it, but never loan anybody any money. If you never loan anybody any money, there's I've hurt feelings.
Money. I don't lend
when
money.
When I say loan money, I don't mean like $20 to go.
I've lent $1,000 to somebody before.
Who?
Yeah.
Who? Jemima?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're braver than I am.
And I didn't get paid back.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the moral of the story. If you do loan money out to somebody, I mean, don't do it in the first place. That's my piece of advice. But if you do it, don't ever, under any circumstances, expect to be paid back.
That's it. Do not lend money that you can't afford to lose.
If
I had a friend that needed it again, I would do it again.
Yeah.
Because
I would give somebody, like, if somebody was like, hey, I'm hard times or whatever, I need $100 to get me through whatever it is. All right. Don't pay it back. That's a gift.
Yep. Yeah.
But, because we have that, like, it's weird.
It is weird.
When you have that, like, expectation of, this guy borrowed it. Yep. It's been like 8 months now.
Right.
It's weird tension that you don't need in a friendship.
I agree. Yeah.
You want to give somebody money, fine.
Some legal trouble one time. And they needed a lawyer, so I lent him some money for it. Yeah. Happens.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I mean, doesn't happen anymore because I don't really keep company like that so much anymore. But and I try to help when I can.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, you know what? I think I got 100 of it back. Maybe 200.
10%. You got a good interest right there.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
As long as you.
I helped the person out. They got out of the tight spot.
Yeah.
So, anyway. So, how many news items you got over there?
So that's my one and only news item.
That's your one and only news item. That's a pretty big one.
It's a slow news
day. It was a slow news week.
I really wanted to stretch it.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into small, soft tissue injuries from around the NFL training camp. I'll tell you what, one of the news items that I wrote down was lack of injuries. I think it's newsworthy how few major injuries there have been. I mean, there's been a couple, like you mentioned in the pre-show rundown. There was a player on the Browns, I think a defensive player, linebacker or something.
I think it was a rookie linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, but very few serious injuries. No torn ACLs that I can recall anyway.
Not that I know
at least of star players.
Yeah, of star players.
Some dehydration around the league, some
soft tissue stuff.
Pulled hamstrings, stuff like that. Some bruising and stuff like that. But I mean, nothing major. And to be, where are we? End of August, and to not have any major injuries, pretty good.
We will say that practice, like padded practice, only started a little more than a week ago.
Yeah.
So because they're a little bit more careful with COVID stuff. And that's another news item. Like there hasn't been any positive COVID tests from the 12th to now. Yeah. And the false positives, they had them retested. And they were all negative. So.
Well, way to ruin my third news item, Hattie.
Oh, was that? I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Third news item. That's okay. There was a lot of false positives here last week.
Like, I think 20.
I want to say 40.
Okay.
I want to say 40 because I know that on some teams, like I think the Jets alone had 10. I think the Browns had 10. I think the Vikings had 10. Like there was some teams that got hit hard. It was all from one lab in New Jersey, I want to say. And so, and then they retested. They did rapid response tests on all of them, and they all came back as false positives, fortunately.
Sketchy lab in New Jersey, go figure.
Yeah, right. Probably the situation in there, taking off his lab coat and showing his abs, doing nonsense like that, making out with lab techs and what have you. No good.
No good.
No, you don't want the Jersey Shore testing your COVID tests.
Guess not.
But yeah, I think that's pretty impressive. I think there's been it's been like 0.1% of the league has had COVID or has been on the COVID list that hasn't come off right away.
Yeah.
That's incredible,
That
considering
is
that
impressive.
I think there's 1,600 players, 1,700 players in the league.
Something
like that.
Plus coaches and training staff
Right.
and
And
all that
no
kind of
real
good stuff.
outbreaks.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's real good.
So if
I'm
they
sure,
can keep that up, then
like I don't know what the NFL's protocol is for that. Because I know like the NBA did the whole bubble thing. The MLB has like their kind of like stuff that they're doing. The NHL, they're in the playoffs right now, so they can narrow it down. I don't know. Like there hasn't been much word on what the NFL has done.
Well,
like I know everyone kind of goes to whatever city they're practicing in, but I don't know anything else.
yeah. So it's essentially. There is no bubble. It is, the teams are responsible, players are responsible for just kind of self-quarantining, essentially. There's not, I think teams have rules and standards, like you can't be at a bar, you can't go out to a bar to drink or go to a party.
All right.
You can go to a bar to pick up food,
Right.
but you can't go to a bar to drink and hang out. You can't go to parties of more than 10 people. You can't there's certain things that are mandatory as far as the NFL has mandated. But as far as like coming and going and stuff like that, like they're all staying at their own houses and stuff for the time being. And it seems to be working out fine. I think at this point, this is early.
Yeah.
This is early in the season, though.
We'll see like week 12 when
Right.
teams are visiting like Miami and
Right.
in
Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas
Right.
and Los
That's-
Angeles, and how
Yes.
not going to bars is going to be working
Right.
for them. Then.
Well, and just to be perfectly honest, I mean, even from a non just being a totally irresponsible young person with a lot of money going to these big flashy cities, like these teams are made up of people who played college football all around the country. They know people, they have friends and stuff in all these different cities that they play in and stuff. When they go to these cities, they might, the chances of them wanting to go see their friends pretty high.
Pretty high.
I think that's what happened with the MLB with like the Marlins and stuff.
Yeah.
They were going out to bars with friends from their cities or whatever that they were visiting.
I mean, you think about it, you have a bunch of young guys, 52 players.
Right.
53. I think it's more. Is it more this year? They can have more? With I think you can. Maybe they have like a special. They have the COVID list. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You can have like 52 active players,
Right.
but you have the COVID list that you can put people on.
Yeah, I
and
think you
stack
could. Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a 22-year-old, 27-year-old person going to big cities a couple days early before a game, you have money to blow, you're definitely going to do stuff.
Well,
like there's no way that they're not.
We'll see.
Absolutely no way.
I think that's going to be a huge factor in how this season plays out as far as win losses and success of teams, is how teams, how structured or how strict are these players going to be with themselves. I think that's a big one.
I think teams with, I hate to say it, but I think like the Bill Belichick teams are going to be like, you're going to be in your hotel
Right.
at 7:30, and you're going to show us where you went to dinner, or we're going to provide it for you, and you're
Right.
going to be here, and we're going to know where you are, and then there's going to be the less organized teams that are just like, do what you want.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The Pete Carrolls.
the Pete Carrolls.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think it's going to be as good of a success.
Yeah, I could see the Pete Carrolls, maybe the Sean McVays.
The Mike Tomlins.
Sure.
He'll probably be out at the bars partying with his own players.
Why would the Tomlin hate?
I don't like Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin's
We've
a good
went over
coach.
this many times.
He's a good coach.
He's
a good coach.
He's been fortunate.
Yeah.
What has he won?
Huh?
What has he won? One Super Bowl?
I think so.
Yeah, one.
Maybe two.
Nope, one.
One?
He went to two. Lost to the Packers in 10, and he went to the 2007 one and won, I believe.
Okay. Well, I know that Ben Roethlisberger has two.
Does he?
Yep. So if Tomlin took over for Bill Cowher, which I think he did.
Because they beat the Cardinals with Jerome Bettis at the end of his career.
Mm-hmm.
They went versus the Packers. They lost.
We've gone over this before on the podcast.
I believe you.
Yeah. I'll look it up real quick.
I think Mike Tomlin only has one, though, if I'm not mistaken. They've went to two. Like, Mike Tomlin's been to 2 Super Bowls. But we can move along.
All right. Well, I will say that I have heard, I think it was Sean Payton that floated the idea to the NFL about doing a bubble for the playoffs.
Yes, I heard about this.
And I think that would be a good idea because it would be a much less encompassing project,
Yes.
shorter period of time.
Absolutely.
The importance of having those teams ready to go and healthy when they're supposed to be ready to go and healthy, much more important than the flexibility that comes with the regular season.
Yep.
I don't think it's an awful idea.
If you're a good franchise and you have a player or two that do get sick or whatever, and you have to miss 2 weeks, it's not that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, if you're a good team, you're probably going to, split those games, or it's not going to make a huge disadvantage for you for the whole season because every team's going to be going through it.
Yep.
But when you're in the playoffs, it's only 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, if you go all the way, it's 4 weeks. Well, 5, because they have a 2-week waiting period for the Super Bowl. If they do the 2-week waiting period this year, who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, it's 5 weeks. Like, the NBA right now is in series of the bubble, and that's worked out phenomenally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody has gotten COVID in the bubble.
Yeah.
So once you get those final 6 each side, right? 12 teams
For the playoffs?
for the playoffs.
No,
they're
they're doing
total?
7 teams this year.
Oh yeah,
7
you have
teams.
all right.
Yep.
So 14 teams.
Yep.
You take 14 teams, you put them in like wherever it is. You put them in a bubble. You play in whatever the Super Bowl stadium is.
Right.
Whatever that is this year. Is it
New Orleans, I want to say,
New Orleans?
but I could be wrong.
Take them all down to New Orleans. This is where the playoffs are going to be.
Yep.
Playing all your games here. The New Orleans Saints make it. It's a
Yep.
big advantage for them.
2021
But,
Super Bowl. Where's that?
But they
gonna
can
be?
do stuff with that too. Like, if it really is a neutral-ish stadium, you
Florida.
could. Florida?
Yeah, it was going to be Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, so the Bucs Stadium this year.
Bucs Stadium?
Yep.
So, I mean, Bucs have an okay chance of making the playoffs.
I think so.
So, just make sure when they have a home game that you only sell so many teams to Bucs fans.
Yeah. Or none at all because the season doesn't have fans in the stands.
I mean,
You
it
know.
will be.
I mean,
Absolutely will be.
I don't think so.
I mean,
I don't think so.
yeah.
That Marmite. All right, let's
that Marmite's going to be eaten by you.
let's see
And
that.
it's going to
I'll put that over there so you can look at it for a while.
tease you every podcast
Lord.
until you have to try a piece of toast with it.
I really hope that you have to eat it after all this tormenting that you're doing.
I always thought put like a little like speech bubble on it, being like I'm your friend.
Oh Lord, I really
That
don't
might
wanna
be
eat
next
that.
week.
Maybe. All right, that's all I got for news.
Yeah, that's all I have as well.
All right, so we're gonna move on to some fantasy relevant stuff here. So let's get into some ADP steals.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move it along to our fantasy special here, ADP steals. We're just going to cover some of the people that we went down through the ADP list, which is average draft position, for those of you who may not know anything about fantasy football. And we're going to talk about some people that we find to be good values for where they're currently being drafted.
Yeah, if you stick with our predictions, you'll probably win your fantasy league.
100% guarantee.
Guaranteed.
So I'll tell you what, you got.
We'll give you your money back.
Yes,
Because we're not getting any money from you. So.
that's true. You got to your list finish first, so I'll let
did.
you go first because you're more confident apparently.
Yeah, so one of the players I like is Melvin Gordon. He's with the Broncos. They're run heavy-ish offense in the NFL these days. He's being drafted running back 19.
Philip Lindsay?
Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon. Oh, yeah, I forgot Melvin Gordon went there.
So Broncos signed Melvin Gordon in the offseason. Running back 19 seems kind of low for him. Super talented. Obviously, he's going to have to compete with some touches with Philip Lindsay, but I don't think that's too much of a stretch. Like, Philip Lindsay was a flash.
Philip Lindsay's good.
Yeah, he was good. Flash in the pan type guy.
I don't know about
that. Unless Melvin Gordon gets injured, he's going to be producing better than running back 19 would be my guess.
Here's the thing that I would be worried about with Melvin Gordon. I'll try to give some counterpoints here to my thoughts on these things. Melvin Gordon has already complained that he's having some trouble with the mountain air, obviously in Mile High Stadium where Denver plays. The oxygen's thinner there. And Melvin Gordon came back last year after a prolonged holdout.
Played pretty decent.
No, he did not.
I think he played pretty decent.
Not really.
All right.
Austin Eckler was tearing it up there, and all
Only
he did,
because he was on your team and you wanted him to play Austin Eckler more.
Okay, but Austin Eckler was playing amazing. I mean, there's no denying that. Austin Eckler was one of the top 3 running backs in the league last year during the absence of Melvin Gordon. And then once Melvin Gordon came back, he was still a top 10 running back with Melvin Gordon there playing. Melvin Gordon did not come back looking great. New situation. He obviously wants to prove himself, but he missed part of last year. He has had some injury problems in the past.
He has had some injury problems.
I don't know. I'm not so high on Melvin Gordon in Denver.
Even at running back 19?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's it. I mean, like last year, he was in talks to be a first round running back last year.
Was a first-round running back last year.
No, because maybe in some leagues, not in ours. Last year, I think he dropped to the third or fourth because he was holding out.
Because he was holding out,
right?
Yeah.
But
talent-wise,
yes.
was the first. Like if he was not holding
Correct.
out, he would have been drafted in the first round.
Correct, but it's a different team, different scheme. They got Drew Lock at quarterback. I mean, who the heck knows how that's going to go?
I think Drew Lock's going to do above what people think he's going to do.
Okay,
only slightly.
All right,
and I think Melvin Gordon's going to be a good fit there and be. Maybe not the greatest yards per carry back, but
used a lot.
Used a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I am going to go my first pick here with DeAndre Hopkins, who is currently being drafted middle of the second round. Early middle, like fifth pick of the second round, 17th overall, wide receiver 5. Now I know that he moved to Arizona. You know, he doesn't have the quarterback that he previously had, but Kyler Murray in Arizona is no slouch of a quarterback. I mean, he put up good fantasy numbers last year. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to believe that he can't take care of the production that you would expect to see from DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins has been able to be a productive quarterback with the likes of Brock Osweiler and Brian Hoyer.
Schaub.
I mean, did he have Schaub?
Yeah, Matt Schaub.
At one point?
Yeah.
You know, he has had some pretty rough quarterbacks, and he was still able to produce. The guy's quarterback proof, really.
Yeah.
And Kyler Murray's not bad.
I was going to mention that we've talked about on the podcast before about how DeAndre Hopkins, when he was on the Texans before Hopkins.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Hopkins.
I was having a hard time remembering it earlier. I always get Watson and Hopkins mixed up for some reason in my head. I don't know why.
I did there for a second.
Yep.
But yeah, before he got there, he had just, the carousel around of quarterbacks coming in and out of there.
Big time.
But he was productive every year. And to think that Kyler Murray isn't on the level of those or better is just crazy. I think he'll be fine.
Yep.
My next one is another running back, David Johnson. So he's moving to a new team as well. He's being drafted running back 21. I think he's got potential.
Yep.
He's on the Texans that we were talking about. He's obviously they brought him in. The Texans have had issues with running backs for the last few years. Like they had Alfred Blue and they had Lamar Miller and a couple other guys that just couldn't stay healthy.
Right.
Like like Alfred Blue kind of was always the guy that you got in fantasy just because you thought the running back number 1 was going to get injured.
Yeah.
So if David Johnson can stay healthy, he's super talented. Obviously last year he had kind of a down year, but still pretty decent. But at running back number 21, where he's being drafted, I think he has a great upside. And I think going to do, his draft position at least. Yeah. As long as he's healthy.
So he's going end of second? 21, you said?
That'd be third.
21?
Yeah.
No. 24 is the end of the second. 12 and 12.
You're right. So end of the second.
Yeah. So, it's a situation. We know what David Johnson is. I mean, we have seen how crazy talented David Johnson can be. And obviously, with Cliff Kingsbury as the shot caller in Arizona last year, things did not go as planned, having David Johnson come back off the injury. Yep. Expectations were high. He had just got a big contract. Things didn't work out the way that obviously everybody hoped. Kenyon Drake came in, kind of stole the show.
Oh, Kenyon Drake, I will say.
Yeah,
he didn't make our list here because he's being drafted so high this year.
Yeah, he's being drafted 14th overall and we're going off. Did you mention we're going off Fantasy Pros?
Yep, okay. Half point PPR list off of Fantasy Pros. Yep. I think Kenyon Drake has.
I think that's a little bit steep, actually, to be perfectly honest.
I think he has a chance to be excellent this year. Because if you look at what he did when he got in there last year, it was amazing.
He was good,
but he's obviously had injury issues. He has been inconsistent in his career.
Inconsistency is key, I think.
He was with Miami, which was never a great team, offensive line-wise,
but he also wasn't playing behind anybody great there either.
But he wasn't playing behind anybody great. Yep. But I will say another point on
Johnson,
David Johnson is he's also a very good pass-catching back, which is something that the Texans have lacked the last few years. Like Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue are not great pass-catching backs. And they were throwing the ball, 6-7 times a game. they dropped 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
But I think, David Johnson turns those into points, especially with a scrambling offense like the Texans have.
Yep.
That leads itself to more opportunities with a little dump down, because you spin to your blind side and nothing's there and the guy's coming. You're dumping it off real quick. And if David Johnson's there, I think he can make a little bit more of those type of plays than the running backs they've had in the past.
Make sure you don't draft Duke Johnson, who I believe does play for. Does he play for the Browns now?
I think he plays for the Browns.
Because he played for the Texans last year.
Did the Browns trade him?
Yes.
Okay. You're probably right.
So
don't draft
don't draft Duke Johnson. Like, if it's just D Johnson, make sure you click on the name to make sure it's the correct D Johnson. Just as a tip out there for you guys. All right, next player I have up here. Hayes gonna probably call me Homer here, but I am going with Lev Bell.
Jets player.
Of course, Le'Veon Bell is being drafted 41st overall. That's middle of the 4th round. Le'Veon Bell, running back 20, is where he's going this year. That's insane. The guy has come into camp absolutely shredded. Best shape of his entire life.
Well, if he's running back 20, he's getting drafted in the second.
No.
David Johnson's running back 21, and you said he was getting drafted in the second.
I'm telling you what I have here on my list is Le'Veon Bell it's showing running back 20.
Okay.
Where was David Johnson being drafted?
Running back 21.
But what position overall?
Oh, I don't know that. He's running back 21.
Okay, well then I wasn't telling you Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, because running back 21 is
David Johnson's
pick
pick
in the second round.
David Johnson's pick 43.
Okay.
We were talking about whatever your first pick was.
Okay.
That was
No, we were talking about David Johnson, but I think we were confused by what we meant.
Okay.
I was saying running back 21, not 20
gotcha,
position.
Gotcha. Okay. Le'Veon Bell is running back, the 20th ranked running back, being drafted 41st overall, middle of the 4th round.
Okay.
Le'Veon Bell is, an incredible running back. Last year, obviously, he had his struggles playing without Sam Darnold for a lot of those games behind an atrocious offensive line. Now, Adam Gase does not help Le'Veon Bell's fantasy production.
He does not.
Let's be realistic about it, okay? Adam Gase is a detriment to Le'Veon Bell. However, Le'Veon Bell is still Le'Veon Bell, and he is mad about how bad he did last year in his... the guy is shredded. Absolutely shredded this year.
You know what I'm mad about?
What?
That I'm not going to be able to draft him in the middle of the 4th round because we have 3 stinking Jets fans in our fantasy league.
True. But, he... and also, here's the thing. He's on an offense with not a lot of offensive weapons.
Yep.
Okay? So he's going to get his touches on that offense. So... last year was not great. It was still okay. He still was a decent running back last year.
Better than running back 20.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this year his chance, the offensive line is much improved. It's not great, but it's much improved. It should be a middle of the pack at least offensive line this year. And I think the offensive weapons are worse this year as far as targets for Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So he should get more utilization.
Yeah, so we did last year we did a fantasy tips a podcast. I don't think we're gonna have time to do it this year. We already gave you some of our tips, but I'll give you a little tidbit right here. Do research on the league that you are in, and the teams that the competitors like, because most likely they're going to be the most knowledgeable about certain players on their team. Like, everyone laughed at me 2 years ago when I drafted Devontae Adams super high. Everyone thought it was too high. It turned out that was not the case. He's a top 5-ish running back. Some people...
Wide receiver.
Top 10 at least.
He's a wide receiver.
Wide receiver, yeah. I would put him in my top 5 as one of the top 5 best wide receivers.
This year?
Yeah. Everyone could put him in, not fantasy-wise this year, probably.
Okay, yeah.
Talent-wise.
Okay.
Like, the offense is... there's lots of
in real
things,
football.
In real football, the offense is more run-happy with Matt LaFleur.
No, he's wide receiver, too, on this list.
But I think skills-wise, he's a top 5 wide receiver. But everyone laughed at me for drafting him so high. But that's because I knew about him. I knew what he can do. I have more research. I watch all their games. So you can do the same thing in your fantasy league. If you know, like, someone's a Chiefs fan or someone's a Texans fan or a Broncos fan or whatever, you know that they're going to draft, their wide receiver number 1 or maybe their number 2 or the running back. They're going to draft him slightly higher if they know something. So adjust your ADP and your draft accordingly. If you know that one of those players is available and someone's going to draft him after you, before you, make your decision.
Yeah.
Is this guy worth me reaching a couple picks because I know he's not going to make it around to me? Or, maybe this other player who's on the Cardinals, say, and no one in my draft knows the Cardinals.
Right.
So maybe I pick the Jets guy now and wait for the Cardinals guy a little bit later. So do research. Know who your opponents are and who's in your league and who their favorite teams are. It goes into a big place. Everyone likes having a homer pick with one of their players on their team. So
yeah, I 100% agree. And if you really decided that you want to get into it, you could go and see, like look at team reporters who are reporting on teams, see who they're reporting kind of as the camp favorites, who's got good chemistry with the quarterback that year.
Yeah, sure.
I will tell the people what I know about the Jets because the Jets are the team that I cover, as far as my fandom is concerned, with the most, fanaticism, I guess you'd say. But,
a prime example of this is I researched the Browns last year, and I didn't get either of these players, but Odell Beckham was getting drafted in the first and second round, like all the time.
Yep.
Jarvis Landry was a 6th, 7th round guy. So I had my eyes on Jarvis Landry just because of the pure draft value of him. And if you look at the stats at the end of the year, Jarvis Landry was a steal where OBJ kind of underperformed, where he was absolutely underperformed where he was drafted in all your leagues. So, do some research of teams. When you have like players like that, maybe instead of taking OBJ in the, end of the first, beginning of the second, maybe you take another guy, and then hopefully you can wait for like a Jarvis Landry in the, the 6th round. So just, those ADPs come in handy a lot of times.
Yep.
You don't want to overdraft a guy. It kills you.
Yep.
Especially if they get injured or underperform or other things happen. Always be looking out for those middle round players that you can pick up.
100%.
That, give you way better value.
And I'm sure that last year I probably told you guys Jamison Crowder was one, and he turned out to be one. The 8 of his weeks he was like a wide receiver 1. And then of the 8 weeks that he wasn't, 3 of those was without Sam Darnold as the quarterback. So he had, a lot of decent production last year. So, and again, I only knew that because I knew from listening to the beat reporters for the team, knowing, hey, Sam Darnold has real good chemistry with Jamison Crowder. I knew, hey, Jamison Crowder is somebody that I'm going to target, maybe round 11, 12, something like that. Pick him up where he might have just gone onto the waiver wire otherwise. Yeah,
and that's another thing to keep an eye on, too. I'll give you another little fantasy tip. Just like the Hopkins was the wide receiver number 1 on a crappy team a few years ago. He produced very well. Look out for those guys. Like number 1s, wide receivers or running backs on like a crappier team that maybe people undervalue because they're like, ooh, the top quarterbacks are Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. I want to get like the number 2 wide receiver or like the pass catching running back or like something like that. They're trying to like reach
a number 1 wide receiver is still a number 1 wide receiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
But people try to reach for like the hot offenses, if you want to call it that,
100%.
where there's like a more talented person, maybe on a Miami or a Bears or one of the lesser teams that like kind of gets overlooked, and there's a number 1 talented wide receiver or a running back there just getting overlooked by everybody because they're I've seen wide receiver number 3s for like the Chiefs or the Packers or like a high offense like the year prior. Get drafted, and there's just chilling DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins never didn't get drafted because he's a name player. But a wide receiver number 1 just get completely passed over because everyone's trying to get just a little piece of that hot offense from the year before. So do your research.
100%. All right, you're next up, I believe.
My next one is Stephon Diggs. He was the big offseason trade to the Buffalo Bills. He's currently getting drafted wide receiver 27. I've talked about Stephon Diggs. I've always been a Stephon Diggs fan, but I've talked about him a little bit. I think he minimizes some of Allen's weaknesses. Allen's a strong-armed quarterback with accuracy issues. And Stephon Diggs is just a super speedy, very good route runner. So as long as Allen can put it, within 5 yards of him, he can have the speed, to go get a slightly arid pass.
Yep.
And I think he minimizes some of those issues. I think wide receiver number 27 is undervalued for him. I think he's a steal at 27. If he's available there in our draft, I'm taking him.
Yep. I really like Stephon Diggs also. You said he was, 29 overall?
27.
27 overall. So,
wide receiver 27.
Oh, wide receiver.
Wide receiver 27.
So what's his ADP?
I didn't write that down because I was dumb.
Jesus.
But I mean, you look what Allen did with John Brown, which is another speedier, a really poor man Stephon Diggs, like real poor Stephon Diggs. He made some plays because Josh Allen just bombed it out to John Brown, and he was able to go get it. Stephon Diggs is absolutely more talented than John Brown. Okay. He's taller. He can minimize a few of those things, and he could be a very good player there for the Bills. Yeah,
so Stephon Diggs, that was one that I also looked at for this. So he's being drafted 66 overall, which I believe is middle of the 5th round. Yes, middle of the 5th round. Yeah. So, yes, I 100% agree. He is definitely somebody who is a talented wide receiver. And so, he was somebody that was being drafted middle of the 2nd round last year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that his quarterback situation is diminished. If anything, it stayed the same, but I think it might have gone up a little bit, at least as far as the fact that he's not dealing with an Adam Thielen or Delvin Cook in that offense.
I'm pretty sure I had him last year.
You might have. Yeah, I think you had Adams and then Diggs in the first 2 rounds.
Something like
if
that.
I remember
correctly.
correctly.
I don't think I got Adams I got in the.
I think it was your keeper in the first round.
I think I drafted Stephon Diggs in the 2nd or 3rd.
Okay. But yeah, I think he's good value for where he's at. He's going to be the focal point, I think, of that offense. They got Devin Singletary, they've got John Brown, but they don't have a lot of big names there in Buffalo, and Stephon Diggs is definitely going to be that big target, so I'm looking forward to that as well. My next one up here is Mark Ingram with the Ravens, currently being drafted 45 overall. That's middle of the 4th round. Last year, Mark Ingram was an absolute beast. True, he had a lot of touchdowns, and those touchdowns are going to come down a little bit. I want to say he had like 12 or 13, 14 touchdowns, something like that last year. I mean, just absolute crazy numbers. It should come down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to come down a ton. There's going to be a lot of goal line situations in the Baltimore offense, and they love to use Mark Ingram on the goal line. He's a strong, short-statured,
Yeah, I think Mark Ingram's kind of been undervalued his whole career when he was with the Saints and with Baltimore.
He was great last year.
Because he's one of those guys that you kind of think should be like the bell horse, but never gets all the carries, so you knock him for it, but he always is productive.
Yep.
Somehow, some way. Yep. So my next one is the steal last year, Jarvis Landry. He's being drafted as wide receiver number 28. I think the Browns are going to get it together a little bit more than they did last year. I think he's still going to be good. OBJ, I think, is a trade alert for this year. I don't know if he's going to make it through the whole year with the Browns, especially if he struggles and is any kind of a distraction or anything like that. I think Jarvis Landry is still the steal of the Browns team. Wide receiver 28, I think he's going to perform that. I think the Browns are going to take a step and a quarter up from what they were last year. I like everything that Baker Mayfield has said in the offseason with their mistakes that they've made last year. So, yeah, wide receiver 28, Jarvis Landry, I'm taking him.
Okay. And I'm going to end my last one here with a little bit of what you were talking about where, don't ignore the number 1 receiver on a bad team. And I know this is going to sound stupid, but I'm going with the Jets wide receiver here.
Oh, Homer!
Okay.
Pick. Homer pick alert.
Okay, it's not a Homer pick.
Music for a Homer pick alert.
All right, Brashad Perryman, hear me out. The last 5 weeks or 6 weeks of the season last year, when he was given the number 1 wide receiver treatment, he was a beast. He won some people their leagues last year because when he was given the opportunity, he was really good. And he is currently being drafted at 146, which is wide receiver 54. Okay. That's the beginning of the 12th round. That's when you're taking flyers before you draft your kickers and your defenses.
Yep.
So he is 100% worth a shot there. And I guarantee you, he will overperform for where he's being drafted because he's developing nice chemistry with Sam Darnold. It looks good. He's got the right attitude, and he's going to be given the opportunity at the Jets team because they do not have they don't have playmakers.
So what wide receiver is he on the depth chart with the Jets? 2?
He'll be number 1.
He'll be number 1.
I mean, him and Crowder will be 1A, 1B.
All right, but Crowder's getting a little bit older, more of a possessions receiver.
Crowder has said, I'm a slot receiver.
All right.
Crowder has come outward and said, I think somebody asked him, do you see yourself as a leader in the team? He's like, I'm a slot receiver, or something to that effect anyway.
All right.
He's not a X receiver, he's not going deep. He's not, his route tree is not going to be what, Brashad Perryman's is going to be. I think they're going to utilize Brashad Perryman this year. And if you draft him at the end of your draft, you'll be happy.
All right. My last one's another wide receiver. And I'm going on history here.
Yep.
I'm also going on the assumption that Ben Roethlisberger is going to come back.
Okay.
And he's going to be at least 85% of his former self before injury. It's Deontay Johnson. So he's wide receiver number 2 there. Obviously, Juju's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But currently he's being drafted wide receiver number 37. So he's down there. He's probably in the 6th, 7th round range. And this is where you really win your fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
Rounds 1 through 4, you're not going to win it. It's really those guys that are your second wide receiver, second running back, your flex person, your depth that you can put in there for your injuries and all the things that happen in fantasy. And I think this guy can win your fantasy league.
Okay.
I think he is going to be a borderline number 1. We've seen it many, many times with a Ben Roethlisberger Steelers offense. They like to pass the ball. Wide receiver number 2s just do real well with Ben Roethlisberger since he was in the league. Wide receiver number 37 being drafted is pretty late for him. He showed a lot of promise last year. So, yeah.
Okay. And I have heard some speculation out there that Juju could be a trade target this year. If the Steelers get off to a bad start and they know the playoffs really aren't in their, future,
yeah.
I could see Juju possibly getting moved midseason.
I think the Steelers are kind of on the bubble.
Yeah.
If they go 1-3, 1-4, they're not going to be in the playoffs. They know Ben Roethlisberger's getting older. They have Juju, James Conner. I think are big trade targets for them to stockpile some draft picks and kind of think about the life after Ben Roethlisberger.
Which is very quickly approaching.
Yeah, he's got 1 or 2 years left.
I think 1, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 1. He could come back for a second, possibly.
Maybe.
But he's had injuries throughout his last few years of his career.
Right.
I think if they struggle at all,
and
it's looking like they're not making the playoffs, Juju and James Conner are huge trade targets in the league, so they could be moved. And if that happens, and Deontay Johnson's all of a sudden the number 1 wide receiver, even if it is, not Ben Roethlisberger passing him the ball.
Yep.
I think if he's healthy, he's going to be doing it. But
I hear.
Steelers are right on that bubble of, they're either making the playoffs or they're making some moves and moving on from, the Ben Roethlisberger and setting themselves up for the next few years.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all we got for you guys. Let us know what you guys think. If you think that any of our picks were crazy as far as being steals in the draft, what picks you guys think that you would like that we did not mention, let us know. Maybe we'll bring them up on next week's show. But as far as this show is concerned, I say it's in the books. Hattie's got a playoff game to watch here for the Lakers
game.
And we still got to do the whiskey tasting here, so we're going to zip through that. Maybe we'll do it while you're watching the game. I don't know, because I'd hate to make you miss your playoff game situation.
It's not on yet. I got the TV on. I can see it. It's not on.
So we want to appreciate and thank you guys for tuning in, listening this far into the episode. If you guys want to stick around for the whiskey tasting after the music, we strongly encourage you to do that. Again, we're going to be tasting Glen, Scotia, Victoriana. So make sure you go over and follow us on Twitter at GrownMansPod. Vote for us in the podcast bracket that we're going to be doing this week. And if you want to become a grown man, support us on Patreon. We appreciate it. Patreon.com/GrownMansPodcast. Thank you, Darlene, Gus, West, and Barry. And that's all I got. Hattie, you got anything?
Where can they vote for us on the podcast
I will be
bracket?
retweeting it, so just check our main page on our Twitter page.
All right, make sure you go and vote for us. It means a lot to us. Yeah,
It'll help us
I,
out.
I was honestly surprised we moved along from the first round. To be
Me too, because we
honest.
had less Twitter followers than the people that we were going against. So I don't know who we're going against in this next round.
Make it happen.
Yes, make it happen, and follow us on Twitter, because that'll help also. But other than that, Hattie, roll the music. That's how the music ends, right?
Well, I mean, we already had music.
I know.
Why you got to put a bada bum in there?
Because I'm ending it. I'm going along with the music. You should match that up to the music at the end.
Maybe I will. There's a nice little fade out to the music,
There is a nice
though.
little fade out. So thanks for sticking around for the whiskey tasting. As I said in the outro, we're drinking Glen, Scotia. Hattie getting absolutely demolished by the nose on this whiskey. It's a little sharp.
Yeah, the first pour there. Smell that. Take a big whiff of it, like a real big whiff.
Not that bad for me.
Really?
Yeah. Here, I'll smell into the mic.
You know what I got on this the second pour? Obviously, this is not going to be the rating part of it because we already rated it before. I get banana cream pie, like so strongly on the second
Well, I don't eat
pouring.
bananas. It's one of the many things I don't eat.
Oh man, it's banana cream pie for sure. Right in the glass. A sharp
weird.
alcohol banana green pie.
Banana green pie.
Banana cream pie.
So I will say we poured this before the show. We did our notes and our ranking of it before the show. And I had a little bit left in my glass that sat for most of the show, which was probably about an hour after pouring.
Yep.
And it was still pretty rough. I will say some of the vanilla notes that it says on the packaging.
Don't get any of that.
It came to me with the last sip that I had after about an hour. So it comes eventually if you're willing to wait for it. I would not be willing to wait for it. I mean, this is an okay whiskey. You know, it's a Campbelltown single malt Scotch. You know, it is an okay whiskey.
Yeah, I would say
it's not bad. It's not great.
the Glen Scotia line is very, very good.
Yeah.
This is like one of their like offshoot ones, the Victoriana.
Yeah.
Any of their
It's one
normal
of their Caribbean casks.
any of their 12, 18, 15 years are absolutely excellent.
Yeah.
This one's definitely a step down though.
Yeah.
On the nose, I got a little bit of tobacco, raisin, date in there.
And I got like a pineapple or sour apple.
Okay.
Yeah. I get the sour apple, I think, quite a bit.
I don't get any apple.
You can't think of like a sour apple sucker?
No.
I get that.
Even on this one, so this is the second pouring. It's not my original one, so those are off my original pouring. Yeah, I don't get it. I still get the raisin and date.
I get some date.
A faint,
and a little bit of raisin, yeah.
more faint tobacco than the first time.
I don't get any tobacco or leather or anything like that. No vanilla.
And I mean, the second pouring, I get banana cream pie.
That's weird.
For sure. Banana
We've been
cream
drinking
pie.
a little bit too.
Well,
We
I
always
mean,
do.
Sure, but
I think that changes your senses.
I don't know.
You don't think so?
I think it's just I poured it an hour ago. It sat. I drank it all. And then I re-poured into without rinsing or doing anything to the glass. I poured a little bit more in just to like be able to taste it while we do the tasting. But I get smell mine and tell me that's not banana cream pie.
Yours is a little bit different than mine.
Which is always the case. Which is weird.
It is weird.
Oh yeah, yours is much sweeter.
I think mine's more sour.
I do get like a little apple, brown
A
sugar,
little tartness or something.
Yeah, yours is different. Like that is weird because we've done this a few times.
Yeah.
Usually the first pouring is pretty similar, but after you like let it sit, and you do the second pouring in the same glass without rinsing or washing it, like it's amazing how different these whiskeys smell.
Yeah.
If you were gonna like rate these,
Yes.
they'd be completely different.
Yeah, they'd be different. I don't know if I would say they'd be completely. They would be different.
The notes would be different.
Yes.
You might come to the same score, but
I will say taking not like your nose in the glass like you normally would do with a Glencairn glass, but like just to the point where you can just barely start to smell the whiskey. I pick up more of those sweeter vanilla caramel notes in that if I just keep it just at the cusp of where you can start to smell the whiskey. Like they must be very undertone in it, and you can only pull them out when you're smelling just the hint of the whiskey.
Yeah, I get it. If you're away from your glass.
Not with your nose not in the glass, but just at the cusp of the glass.
Which if you're a real whiskey connoisseur, you should be drinking it out of a Glencairn glass.
Yes, you should. It really does improve the smell and the ability to appreciate it.
Improves all the notes when you're smelling it.
Which is kind of weird. You wouldn't think that the shape of a glass matters, but it really, really does.
Well, have you ever looked at the science behind why it works?
I would imagine just because it creates a large bowl for the smell to collect in, and
basically, it's basically concentrating the smell.
Yeah.
Because the whiskey is sitting at a larger area
surface volume
than what you're smelling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a funnel up.
Yeah.
So you're getting like a more concentrated smell than if you just have like a rocks glass.
Right.
It's going everywhere.
Right.
Like what the surface area of what you're smelling and the surface area of the whiskey is the same. So this is kind of like a concentrated volume, like right up. And that's why whiskey connoisseurs like these glasses, because you usually can pick more out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's concentrated, you could get more smell. It's a more enjoyable
it doesn't help
experience.
The taste so much, but the smell for sure.
Yeah, the taste is going to be the same. The experience of the smell, the after nose.
Yeah.
Is
empty
going to
nose.
be empty nose. That's what I was looking for.
Is probably the most drastically.
Yes.
Yep.
Much better.
Yeah.
So I would suggest getting a Glencairn glass.
I would too.
And
really.
Doing what you can.
I'll drink out of rocks glasses when I'm at home, and when I'm trying a whiskey for the first time, or if we're doing a whiskey tasting, obviously I want to drink it out of a Glencairn glass. But a lot of times, if I've had the whiskey several times, I'll pour it into, especially if it's not a really good whiskey. If it's just some, if you're $40 bottle, I'll pour it into a rock glass and drink it that way. If my Glencairn glasses are dirty or whatever.
Right. I think a lot of whiskey tasting, I very rarely drink whiskey by myself.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it for me is the experience. It's like talking with a friend or a group of friends, like going through all the nuances of the whiskey and like getting everybody's perspective and different flavors that certain people pull out, and the Glencairn glass plays into that.
Yeah,
because it's about the experience.
It is.
Like for me, it is about the experience. Like I like whiskey, obviously, but I usually don't come home from a day's worth of work and pour myself a glass of whiskey and just sit on my couch and drink it.
Yeah,
it's just not me.
Yeah.
I would much rather like buy a bottle and go over to a friend's house and be like, "Hey, I just got this today.
Right.
Let's try it. Like pour it in the good glasses. Like really do like the Glencairn glass. Like smell. Like go through the ratings. Like what do you find? Do you enjoy it? Do you not? Like
I 100% agree. I mean, it's 100% more enjoyable to do that.
Yes.
I got 5 kids and a wife. I'm busy as all get out. So I would say I drink at least, like a small glass of whiskey, I'd say most nights. Like, that's my drink of choice is whiskey. All right. Like my wife will drink a whiskey sour at night, and I'll have like a small, thing of whiskey.
Yeah, I'll do it once in a while.
Yeah. Once in a while I'll have beer instead. But at the end of the night, like when we're sitting around watching TV or something, I'll usually pour myself a small Glencairn glass of whiskey or whatever, and, I don't like taking sleeping pills because it makes me super groggy.
Right.
In a small glass of whiskey
will
send me off to sleep most of the time. So, yeah, I enjoy all that stuff too. It's not necessary for me to enjoy whiskey. I can certainly enjoy it myself, but it is more enjoyable to sit and talk with your buddies about all the things about it.
Yeah, I think it's way more enjoyable. Like, obviously I have a whiskey every week with the podcast on Mondays that we do it. We always review one, which is enjoyable. But I would say probably twice a month, maybe. I pour my like by myself.
Oh,
just
that
like
all?
watch. Yeah,
really.
I don't really drink too much by myself. It's I buy a bottle when I have to for the podcast.
Right.
Or in this week's case, I forgot. And a
borrowed
friend
one.
of the podcast, James,
Yep.
loaned us his bottle because I was like,
through.
I completely forgot to get one.
Yep.
I will get one next week.
Yep.
I know it's my turn now.
Right.
But yeah, like I think it's one of those social things.
It is.
Like, I love getting a new bottle or a friend getting a new bottle
Yep.
and just being like, hey, I just got this today. No one's tried it.
Yeah.
Let's try it.
That's
and,
the fun thing is one that, like last week I brought the Ardbeg.
Yep.
And you had never had an Ardbeg.
Yep.
I was really excited to I've been really excited to share it with you for a couple of weeks, and it just, turned out where we missed the week before that, I think, because something came up. I had to go out of town for work.
You were out of
and
town.
The week before that was your week, and the week before that was James.
Yep.
So it was like, it took a while for me to be able to do it. So I made sure I kept it in my car so I didn't drink it at the house at night, because I really want to make sure to share it with you.
Yeah, I think that's the most, like, enjoyable for me is, like, either trying a friend's new one or getting a bottle yourself and being like, hey, I just got this today. It looks cool. Like, you read, like, when you're in the store, you read the story behind it,
Right.
or the person at the store, like, tells you a little bit about it. And you're like, oh,
Yep.
yeah, I really want to try this because it's unique for whatever reason.
Yep.
And you get it, or it's something that you've had your eye on for a while and you want to try it. And you
that's
want to
it.
share it with friends. You're like,
I think
I got
picking-
this. I want you to try it and tell me what you think. And
I think picking out a bottle of whiskey, just taking an hour and just going down to a store that has a really, really nice selection.
Yep.
I think that might be my favorite part about getting a bottle of whiskey, even more so than taking it home and trying it, is just because I'm the kind of guy who will go to Home Depot and just kill an hour and a half looking through the power tools and like looking at the wood trim and thinking of things that I could do with it and stuff. Like that is who I am. Like I will do that and have no qualms about it. If my wife is going, shopping or something, and I know she's gonna be in that plaza for an hour or so, like drop me off at Home Depot. I'll just go. I'll go see what deals they got and go look at new light fixtures and stuff.
Yeah. I will say there's not much better for a perfect night.
Yeah.
Than not being rushed.
Yep.
Going into like a nice liquor store. Having like a half hour, 40 minutes to like peruse.
Yes. And I'm not talking about your liquor store where the guy's looking over the thing at you being like, you sure you don't need any help over there?
Yes.
It's like, buddy, I'm looking, like, I ain't going to rob you and I ain't going to steal nothing. Please leave me alone. I want to look at every bottle.
It's even better experience if you know your liquor store person.
Yes.
And they like come over and be like, they know you've bought stuff there before, so there's like no pressure. They're like, hey, this is like the new bottle we got. I just got it in like Wednesday or whatever day.
Right.
These are the new bottles. Take a look at them. There's nothing better than like spending that time like reading the containers, looking at the bottles, like the packaging, finally choosing one, getting it, and just going to a friend's house and be like, I just got this today. Literally like an hour ago.
Right.
Let's try it. Let's sit it down. Let's pour it out. Let's like see what it is. That's a good couple hours right there.
For sure.
It's all about the experience with whiskey.
I agree.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But like
it's the process.
Yeah, it's the process of like liking the bottle, the packaging, talking to like the store person, reading the story on the back of it, taking it over to a friend's, seeing what they say.
And we have a whiskey taste, like a whiskey group text.
Yes, we do.
So I know that it's not uncommon for us to shoot a message to the whiskey group text and be like, hey, has anybody ever had this bottle or this year of this whiskey, or I'm thinking about getting an Isla, or I'm thinking of getting a Irish, whatever the case may be. Just reach, and that's where the process begins. Or maybe if you're thinking about what you might want to try next. There's a lot of things to it, and if it's something you really enjoy, you can really stretch it out, and
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it should be like required in our group text. Whenever anybody buys a bottle, they take it home. They gotta be like, anybody who wants to come over and try it, come over and try it.
Hey, make that a stipulation, Hattie.
Hey, I will.
Yeah.
Next bottle I buy next probably Sunday or Monday-ish. I'll buy a bottle for the podcast.
That you're just gonna get. You're gonna get a bunch of. I'm busy this week.
I know I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, Hattie's the person who's never busy. Well, actually, you do a lot of stuff, but you're always willing to.
I'm willing to move stuff around.
Yeah, you're always looking to do stuff with your friends.
Yep, I don't have kids, so.
But most of your friends do, or a lot of your friends. Yeah,
it's kind of not a bummer, but it is in a way.
Yeah. Because if you have all the time in the world, but none of your friends do, what good is it to have all the time in the world?
Yeah, the excuse of I'm spending time with my family doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you spend time with your family for?
Families, you can have time with your family anytime.
Yeah, you spent time with them the last 4 days. Why don't you spend time with me?
Oh,
All
Lord.
right, so let's get on with the actual review. We did
Oh, yeah.
nose.
I forgot about that.
I gave it a 6 on the nose.
Let me get into our sheets, our whiskey tasting.
Because I see LeBron James in the
Spreadsheet.
court right now, just saying.
Oh, is he passing it really well to somebody?
I mean, it's not started yet.
Okay.
It's pre-game.
All right, I gave it a 6 for nose. Would you give it?
I gave it a 6.
Okay. Yeah, I think the nose is okay. I'm gonna adjust it to a 6.5. There's
No adjusting on the fly,
well,
man.
you know what? We taste. Okay. All right, you're right.
That's what we tasted the first pour.
Sure, you're right. But I feel bad because most of the time we score these, we're scoring them at the end after they sat for an hour. So I don't feel like it's a fair review to do to stick
Only
to
the last few weeks have we waited. Like usually we tried it and like reviewed it
No,
as you
that's the
poured.
case.
I think that's the case.
Okay. I think you're wrong, but
All right.
I'm okay with it either way. I give it a 6 for the nose. The nose, it's okay.
I mean,
It's
6 is
it's
above
sharp.
average.
Yeah, it's sharp, but it
a little
has
sharp.
it has a couple layers of depth to it.
It is a 51.5%
Yes.
alcohol for a Scotch, which
Yep.
is pretty high for a Scotch.
Yes. So, and with that in mind, I gave it a 6.5 for mouthfeel and smoothness. It is sharp because it's a strong whiskey, but
Yep.
I think as far as the mouthfeel, I think it's a buttery mouthfeel.
Yeah, I think it's like it's got that like oil cream like kind of
Yes,
mouthfeel.
very soft.
It is a little bit. I think it's a little bit sharper than some whiskeys. I gave it a 5.5. I think that's mostly because of the higher alcohol content that makes it that.
Yeah.
So it's slightly less smooth. So I knocked it down a peg from you for that.
Okay. For flavor, I did 6.5 for flavor.
Yeah.
It's got the main thing that I wrote down for notes on flavor was floral. It's got a very floral taste to me. I don't get much more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe some slight leather.
I got a little bit of leather up front. And it was kind of funky in the middle.
It is a
like
little
I
bit
couldn't
funky.
like put my finger on what it was in the middle.
It tastes like bad apple juice.
Yeah, it's
Like apple juice that's turned.
yeah. I couldn't put my finger on the middle taste.
Yeah.
like it was maybe fruit or maybe tobacco or like I don't know what it was.
Maybe a little tobacco.
At the end, I got a ever so slight bit of cinnamon, and then the little bit of smoke
Okay.
on the
I didn't
flavor.
get any smoke on it.
So I gave it a 5 for flavor. I think it's average
Yeah.
for flavor.
Yeah. My ranking 6.6 is average for me.
Yeah.
Even though 5 technically is middle of it, but for me, I consider 6 average.
Okay.
So I gave it slightly above average.
I think our listeners know you give it a point or two extra than me usually.
Yeah, usually. Balancing complexity, I gave it a 6. There's a couple layers to it. I think it's, it's not out of whack or anything like that. It's average.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 5.5.
Yeah.
I think it's average as well.
Yep.
I do like at the end where it has like the little cinnamon that goes into the smoke for me. But yeah, the middle just there wasn't really a middle. Like there was like a little bit of flavor up front, and then it was kind of like, ooh, I don't know what that is. There's some alcohol and some. Then you get like a little bit of cinnamon, and then it goes right into like a mild smoke.
Yep.
So there's not a ton going on. So I gave it a 5.5.
Yeah. Okay. What about for aftertaste?
Aftertaste is the worst thing I don't like about the whiskey. I think it
Really?
disappears. There's a little bit of smoke, and that's about it. I gave it a 4 on the aftertaste.
It sticks around a while.
It does, but it's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of smoke.
Yeah. I gave it a 6. You gave it what? A 4.5?
I gave it a 4.
4. Yeah. It's maybe it's like a sherry. Maybe that's what I'm tasting. A
Thanks.
sherry wine.
All right. I think sherry's a little bit sweeter than this whiskey. This is kind of like a dry blandness.
It's like a dry white wine.
All right.
Don't you think?
I don't know. Like it's kind of weird. Like I get like the
Like a dry
fruit
Chardonnay or
leather,
something.
the fruit and leather and like a little bit of tobacco at the beginning. And the middle is just like I don't know what I'm tasting.
Yeah.
It's kind of like weird.
Yeah.
And then you get like I got the cinnamon and the smoke at the end.
Yeah.
But in the middle there, like it's I can't even describe it. Like it's just kind of like blandness, alcohol. Like you get the grain a little bit. It's kind of like bland in the middle.
Yeah.
Like most whiskeys will be like, oh, this is a good fruit that mixes into floral, and then at the end you get like a tobacco and like leather that like makes way to like smoke. Takes you on like a nice little journey. But this is just like, oh, there's a little bit of fruit, and there's a little something, and like in the middle is like crazy weirdness. And
I don't know if I
like,
get that so much. I don't know if that's the journey I experience, but hey, we're all different. So my overall score is 62.
All right, mine's a 52.
Okay.
For this whiskey, I think it's fine.
Yep.
I think it's $55-ish for this bottle. So I mean, middle of the road, $50 bottle of Scotch is about average.
There's other bottles of Scotch or other bottles of whiskey that I would buy for $55.
Correct.
Over this though.
Yes. I will say any of the other Glen Scotias, the 15-year, the 12, or the 18, are phenomenal.
Okay.
I've had all of those. This one is like one of their little offshoot ones. I don't think the value is there for this one.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're looking to buy a whiskey in this price range, I wouldn't recommend this one. But if you were offered a drink of it, I would definitely drink it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So that does it. Hattie's over here. He's got one eye on the TV for the pit playoff game and one eye on old T-Bone over here. So I don't want to keep him too long here. So let's call that a podcast. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and listening. And we hope to entertain you next week.
Yeah. See you next week.